Hi everyone, welcome to series of Scala tutorials. So in this tutorial, we're actually going to see what is Scala, its introduction, and some of the frameworks which are built on top of Scala. So let's get started. And we're also going to see who are the intended audience. So audience are programmers in general. So if you have any experience with any of the programming language, you can actually learn Scala. Data engineers. So some folks who are actually having some data processing or data analytical projects at their stake, they can also learn it. It's better for data engineers to learn this particular Scala because some of the great frameworks are built actually on top of Scala. So you can name them as Spark or Akka or Play framework. And it's more flexible for Java devs to learn Scala because syntax wise there would be some differences, but on a whole the same concept because Java is a pure programming object oriented programming language, right? So let's have a look at the features of Scala. Object oriented and functional approach, immutability, type inference, and we can write Java code seamlessly in Scala. So these are the features of Scala on a high level, but let's jump into the features of Scala. So this is the official page where we can find the Scala programming language. So here they are saying that it's object oriented and functional programming. So which means that object oriented is nothing but you can actually follow all the principles of OOPS. So whether it is abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, and encapsulation, you can have all the features in Scala as well, like we do have in Java. Functional programming. So functional programming is nothing but so every function returns a value. So that's the main intent behind the functional programming. So you can say that you can pass functions as parameters and you can return functions as return values. So these are the high level features of Scala, and there were some other features like Scala can even run on JVM because it's going to internally convert the Scala code that we write into a class form, and we have to run the class form on top of JVM, and we can also run it on JavaScript. So in a nutshell, what exactly is Scala? So these are also the features of Scala. Type inference. So you need not explicitly specify the type, and concurrency and distribution. So here I would like to take an example because we are living in a digital world, right? And the data that is getting accumulated is huge and huge. So we wanted to perform some data analytics or data processing. So we need some frameworks. So there are already some very good worldwide programs that has been used. So Spark is one of them. Akka is one of them, and to your interest, Scala is built on top of them, right? So concurrency and distribution comes up with the concept of immutability. So that's the reason I have mentioned that immutability is one of the greatest features of Scala. So concurrency and distribution works in line with the immutability concept. We are going to explore these things in future, but let's stop our discussion here itself. And higher order functions. So like I said, we can pass the functions as parameters and we can return the functions. And pattern matching is one of the very best feature of Scala, wherein it's like a regular expression. So you can pass the pattern and you can check that whether it is matching to the appropriate value that you have passed it or not. And traits. So there has been some problems in even in object oriented design. So you can name it as diamond problem, and with the help of Scala traits, right, you can overcome that problem. So Scala is a bit ahead of Java in this particular concept. And seamlessly you can interoperate with Java. You can write Java code in your Scala class, and it's going to work because everything is going to run on top of JVM. Even Java runs on top of JVM, and Scala also runs on top of JVM. So this has been the features of Scala. So let's move on to the tour of Scala. Tour of Scala is nothing but they are also going to talk about all these concepts. And as this is a higher level overview, I'm just going to take you through all these things, and we are going to discuss about all of these things in detail in our further tutorials. They are saying that Scala is object oriented and Scala is functional, which means that here they are saying that every value itself is an object. And in functional programming, they are saying that every function is a value. You can actually hold function in a variable. So that's what they are saying. So that's the reason they were saying that every function itself is a value. Scala is statically typed, so which means that you need not worry about the type system. So you can use the type system, you can make use of type system, so that Scala compiler is the one which is going to assign appropriate types for the values that you have used. And Scala is extensible with the help of implicits and interoperation with Java. Scala is actually extensible. And these are the features or the high level information that I wanted to provide you specific to Scala in this particular tutorial. And there were, like I have been saying, right? So there were a few frameworks which are actually built on top of Scala. So this is the material that holds them. So scala.lang.org is the official website which holds the content of Scala. And Play framework, Akka, and Spark are the frameworks that are built on top of Scala. So let's explore them as well. Apache Spark. So if you see here they have been saying that lightning fast unifies the analytics engine. So I have been saying that. So Scala is mostly used in some of these frameworks, right? So we wanted to do the code in these programs so that we can process the data at a very faster pace. So that's the reason the whole intent of learning Scala is to make use of Scala in these frameworks so that we would be able to write our programs in a more efficient way. And as it's been mentioned over here, lightning fast unified analytics engine, which means that you can actually write your program in Scala and it's going to perform. It's going to make use the features of Spark and everything. And in our tutorials, we're also going to look at Apache Spark in detail. And Play framework is one other framework where here they are saying about high velocity web framework. So if you wanted to develop any web framework, you can actually choose between Java and Scala. It has support for both the programming languages. So whether you can choose Java or Scala, you will be able to build high velocity web frameworks with the help of Play framework. And the most important thing is Akka. So this is also one of the framework which is built on top of Scala. So if you see here, build powerful reactive concurrent and distributed applications more easily. Distributed applications are nothing but, so you are going to have huge amount of data and you are going to distribute huge amount of data across your cluster. So cluster is nothing but a group of machines. So you can think of a network which is holding a group of computers, right? And complete data whatever you have at your stake is distributed across your cluster, and you would be writing some Akka program which is in Scala, and your Akka program is going to get deployed on top of cluster and it's going to process all the huge amount of data that you have at your hand. And so that's the reason they have been saying that it's concurrent, which means it's going to do the operations in parallel, and it's also distributed, which means that data is distributed across cluster. So the whole intent of learning Scala is to make use of Scala in these frameworks so that you would be able to develop data analytics programs or data processing programs. So that's the whole intent of learning Scala, because there are already few amount of languages like Java, so which is at par with Scala. But as we have Scala, some frameworks are built on top of Scala. So we wanted to learn Scala. So that's the whole intent. So all the features that whatever I have listed are there in many other languages. But what's the intent of learning Scala? The intent of learning Scala is to code in Scala on these frameworks so that we would be able to perform our data operations. So that's the whole intent of learning Scala. And as I said, Scala runs even on JVM and JavaScript. These are also the important features, because JVM is one which actually runs the Java programs. But with the advent of Scala, Scala even being executed on top of JVM and JS is one more important feature of Scala. So all these are like the makeups, right? But the whole intent is to actually code in these appropriate frameworks so that we would be able to perform our data analytics. So that's the whole intent of learning Scala, and it's also high performant as well. So that is also one of the reason. So with these things mentioned, right? So I think we are good for this particular session, and we are also going to explore some of the concepts in our future tutorials. So if you remember one thing, so all these languages has support even for Java and Scala. If you see here, choose the appropriate language: Scala, Java. Akka has support for both Scala, Java, and here itself they are saying that it has support for both Java and Scala. And Spark is one which has support for many other things other than Scala and Java. So that's the importance of learning Scala. And even if you know the Java, you can also actually go through these tutorials and you would be able to learn Scala as well. So as there are frameworks developed on top of Scala, so we have to learn Scala in order to code in these appropriate frameworks. So that's the intent of learning Scala. So thanks everyone. Thanks for your time. Happy learning. Thank you.